Welcome back to Opening Statements. Still trending this morning, the aftermath of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. We're learning more about the young man behind the attack. Shots rang out on Saturday as the former president spoke to supporters in Butler County, Pennsylvania, just north of Pittsburgh. He grabbed his ear and then ducked behind the podium. The suspect has been identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. Authorities say that he fired several shots using a legally purchased AR-style rifle before being gunned down by the counter-sniper team. Tragically, one spectator was killed, firefighter Corey Comparator, and two others are injured and recovering this morning, David Dutch and James Copenhaver. Let's listen now to what happened when people first saw the gunman on the roof.
He's going down!
It is chilling just to watch and listen to that video. Let's bring in Scripps News political correspondent Alex Miller. She's joining us now live from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, right outside of the shooter's house. Good morning to you, Alex. Give us the very latest, if you would, please.
Well, the investigation is moving right along. Yesterday, we were up the hill, not able to get anywhere near the shooter's home. Today, we are standing outside of it. There was still caution tape outside of his actual street. But yesterday, it was full of police. We saw the bomb squad going down at points. So things are certainly progressing. The Associated Press is now reporting that the shooter was reported by other rally goers on Saturday around the magnetometers. And then after that, he was reported to have been climbing onto a ladder. Officers searched for him, but were not able, according to the Associated Press, to get to him before they got on the roof. Then a local police officer climbed up there and then ended up having to drop down to his safety. The official told the Associated Press he would not have been able to wield his weapon at that time. It was then that Crooks turned and fired at the former president. Obviously, Secret Service got him just seconds later. They are still very much trying to figure out what the motive could be, what could force somebody to want to kill the former president. We were on a call with the FBI yesterday. They say that they have combed through his social media so far and that there have been no indications that he was planning this on his social media, no indications of poor mental health, at least from his social media. They do have physical access to his phone, but listen, they have not been able to get into it.
Right now, our primary focus is on the phone, and we are working to get access to the phone. We have shipped the phone to our lab at Quantico, and so as of this time, we still don't have access to the phone, although we do have possession of the physical phone.
The FBI did not want to disclose which provider the shooter used. They said that though they don't have access inside of the phone, that they do have some information about the calls and texts he was sending and receiving in the days leading up to this event, and that also has not indicated any motive in particular. Now, there was bomb material found at the shooter's home and inside of his car. In fact, they said that there was a suspicious device in the car and that they actually had to stop the investigation for a period of time because they had to make sure that their officers were safe. They were able to recover the device. That also has been sent to Quantico. So lots needs to still be figured out. They did say that the rifle he used was purchased legally, was purchased by his father. They did not say whether the father knew that the gun had been taken on the day of the shooting. They were asked if the family is cooperating, and they say they are, but they also mentioned that the rhetoric, the threats online, they are still ratcheting up right now.
Alex, I want to ask you about the victims, please. Any updates that you've gotten on the victims who survived the shooting but are recovering after treatment, David Dutch and James Copenhaver? If you know, how are they this morning?
We do not know how they are this morning. We know that they are still recovering. They were listed in critical condition on the day of the shooting. Yesterday, they were upgraded to stable condition, so hopefully they are making more progress as the days go on. We know that the 50-year-old victim was a self-proclaimed girl dad who His wife told police officers and the governor that he dove on top of his family to protect them. He was killed, obviously, at the shooting. It was really just a scary scene altogether, Julie. It happened very quickly, but obviously, nonetheless, scary.
Oh, just horrific, Alex. Our hearts go out to everyone who was there. They've all been through this horrific trauma. And of course, well wishes and healing, good thoughts to everyone who was affected by this. The former president, David Dutch, James Copenhaver, and of course the family of that firefighter you mentioned who died a hero, Corey Comparator. Alex Miller, live in Bethel Park this morning for us. Thank you kindly for that update. We'll speak again soon. So now that the shooter is dead, where does the investigation go? Let's talk about that. I want to bring in a tremendous power panel we have standing by this morning. Law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter, former criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi, and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor in Pennsylvania. He practices in Butler County, attorney Ryan Tutera. Great to have you all here. It is just like something out of a nightmare, yet it happened, yet it's reality. And now, where does this investigation go? Sonny Slaughter, would you start off our conversation, please?
Good morning, Julie, and to my co-guests. This is such a very painful topic, and because a former president was attempted to be assassinated. And as someone who's actually worked this background in 2016 with Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, I am deeply disturbed that there was no one ready on that rooftop that had visibility, line of sight to former President Trump. And you know, although we're second guessing right now they are looking at everything. This is a multi-jurisdictional operation. It was before this happened. It will be continuing after this. They are going through, as we said, you know, the cell phones. They're trying to get access. They actually have to get a warrant to get the cell phone company to get them the access that they need if they cannot get into the phone. Otherwise, it requires paperwork. I'm sure they are processing it quickly. The after action report is what is going to be very tremendous in this particular incident, to find out where was the gap and what they need to do going forward.
Exactly, Sonny, exactly. Where was the gap? A site survey is done on an area like this. Why was that rooftop not identified as a potential place for vulnerability? It's just dreadful. Thank you for all of that. Attorney Ryan Tutera, I want to go to you next, please. This has to really hit close to home for you. You know the good people of Butler County. You know the county well. Your thoughts this morning on where the investigation needs to go, please.
Good morning, Julie. I just want to say that there's no place in our society for political violence or violence of any kind. What happened was an absolute disgrace. And, you know, there should be two investigations, I think. You know, one, you know, into the shooter and what his motives were and anybody associated with him. And I'm looking forward to law enforcement getting a hold of his contacts in that cell phone and maybe some of the conversations that he had to see what maybe these motives were. Also, I would imagine that the state police in Butler, they have a big barracks up there, a large barracks, and they're assisting, you know, the FBI and with the federal law enforcement partners, I'm sure. They will be combing through all sorts of evidence because there are two crime scenes. There's a federal crime scene and there's also a state crime scene. So, you know, when the feds are done with their primary jurisdiction of their investigation as it pertains to the president, and also internally with the Secret Service, you know, the state and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they also have, you know, jurisdiction, state jurisdiction to investigate into the homicide and the aggravated assaults of those two individuals that thankfully survived. You know, if I were the law enforcement officials conducting this investigation, it would be, you know, full digital downloads of every piece of evidence, electronic evidence, computers, email accounts, cell phones, of that individual. I won't mention his name because I don't think his name is worth mentioning. But I also, and I'm sure that they will, check the license plate readers all up and down Route 8, up and down 279, Interstate 279 and State Route 228, where there are license plate readers, to see if there are any pre-planned evidence that would have indicated that this individual or anybody working with him had traversed those roadways. And I think that that would be, in this case, a wise and prudent thing to do. It's just unimaginable and unthinkable what happened on Saturday evening.
Oh, you're making excellent points, Ryan. Excellent points. The roads you're mentioning, and I'm familiar with this area from having served in Pittsburgh, actually with Ryan at the district attorney's office in Allegheny County years ago. You're right. Those two roads will lead to Butler and can come past the Pittsburgh area. So great points you're making in terms of leaving no stone unturned anywhere in the greater Pittsburgh area, if anyone else had any involvement in this. Last but certainly not least, Attorney Kirk Nurmi, want to get your thoughts on where this investigation needs to go, please.
Well, you know, Julie, I think what we really need to do is talk about the climate that this is happening in. I mean, we're in a political climate now where we don't attack problems, we attack people. And the people that are then set to solve the problems are demonized, and this sort of thing can happen. So we need to think about the kind of discourse we have in this country, because our destiny is really going to be found in dignified discourse, not this kind of attacks on people. So my hope is that this overall is a harbinger. It gives us all a chance to look back in our own hearts and try to act with peace. Instead of trying to tear someone down, try to lift someone up. That is really going to be what's going to change. That is really going to be the most important, hopefully the most important outcome of this event.
I really appreciate what you're saying, Kirk. Dignified discourse, lift people up. You're an example of that. You know, you live a life of positivity and trying to put good work and good energy out into the universe. And you're right. We certainly need good, healing energy, love and light for everyone affected by this tragedy. It is just far from over. It's really just beginning.